Good morning, physics students. I know these ray diagrams are kind of tricky. I really wish I was with you guys because if I was with you guys, I know you'd pick them up in like no problem whatsoever, no time whatsoever, excuse me. But I have a few pictures that look very similar to yesterday that I would like to speak through with you so you know what I'm doing too. There's one new one, and then I'm going to scan these to you guys, hopefully eventually that you can get them and kind of see them. Whether they entirely match yesterday's, I don't know. So the first one was the one that was far away. We already kind of did one like this with Nehemiah. But now that I can actually sort of sit down and show you and be talking as I'm doing it, excuse me, I'm going to show you a little bit more. First one, we're supposed to start at the top and go straight towards the mirror. So I'm going to use I have a purple and a red pen that I'm going to use. I'm going to draw a line that looks a lot like that. I'm going to show you like step by step as I go through this, okay? So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ruler at the top of the arrow, and I'm going to go straight towards the mirror. Now the word straight means in respect to the main axis. So that means this first purple line I draw and show you should look like it is parallel to the black line, which we again call the main axis. It is the line with my focus and my center. All right. After I go through there, this is the only one where I'm going to do this. I need to pretend that that purple dot right there is where I'm starting. And I am going to go from that purple dot towards this black dot that has the F for the focus. I'm going to go like that. Okay? And so I'm going to start at the mirror and go towards the focus. And I'm going to bounce off that way. And again, guys, just because we never know what's going to happen, it might be helpful for you to draw that line kind of a long way across your paper. So hopefully everybody understands where I got those two purple lines from. I'm now switching up pens to my red pen because I am now going to go, instead of straight to the mirror and through the focus, I'm going to go through the focus and straight off the mirror. So I'm going to start at the top of that arrow and go towards the focus like that. Oh, sorry, let me hold it a little bit longer so you can see. Start at that and go towards that. I can't quite tell. I know I'm pretty close, but that's the first line I'm going to draw. Now, guys, we're going to notice that all of these diagrams are very, very similar, but the way things show up is a little bit different. And it all has to do with where my arrow is. So since this arrow is all the way over here, that's why this one's showing up this way. Okay, since I did that, I now am going to start at the mirror. And this one should again be parallel to the black line and that first purple line. So when I'm done, there should be three lines that are parallel. There should be three lines that are parallel. That first purple line I did, my black line that represents my main axis, and the bottom one, which is my reflected ray from that one. Now, if you notice, the original started on the main axis and the top was where the red and purple lines met. Same thing is always going to be true. When I try to find my image, the bottom is going to be on the black line, the main axis, and the top is going to be where they meet, which on my picture right here is right around there. So let me pick up this pen again. That means my arrow and my answer is going to be right there. So if you notice, that looks pretty small. That was one of my questions, one of my answers. I believe 3, was it bigger or smaller? I think that's what it was. So 3 is smaller. 4 was, is it closer to the mirror or farther away? It's closer. And is it the right way up or is it upside down? It's upside down, so that would be our word inverted. And number 2, I think I'm going to get to a diagram today that I can tell you what answer should go into, but whether we write it or not. I will scan you that paper eventually, okay? Here is number 2. It might not be number 2 on the way the papers went the other day, but there is the one I'm going to do second. What am I going to do again? Oh yeah, I'm going to take my purple pen, line it up with the top of the arrow, and go straight towards the mirror. Thank you. Guys, again, I'm going to show you step for step. So after I do that, I'm now going to pretend there's that purple dot there and go through that black dot right there. This time, guys, I would consider having that line Go just maybe a little bit farther. Don't just stop too soon, only because I know what might be happening. Okay, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Put down the purple pen, pick up the red pen. What am I supposed to do first? All right, go to the focus. Again, I'm going to try to pick up the paper every time I make a line. I'm sorry if I've forgotten. From this red line then, I got to go straight off. Once again, since that's straight now, this red line should be parallel to the black line and that first purple line. This red line I'm about to draw should be parallel. Whoop, my ruler moved a little bit. Please bear with that. But this red line should be parallel to the black line and this original purple line right here. Hopefully those three look parallel. Where the red line and the purple line meet is where my upside down arrow should be. Well, I shouldn't say upside down all the time, but remember the bottom of the arrow has to be on the main axis. And so let's think about this. I already said, is it flipped upside down? Okay, so question number 1 would be inverted. Question number 2, we're still talking about. Question number 3, this time that image is larger. Okay, and I know sometimes I say bigger, smaller, larger, smaller. Hopefully those are the same. And is it closer, or is the distance more, or is the distance less? All right, then it's farther from the mirror. Okay, so those things we can do, because again the mirror is here. Here's where my original arrow is. Here is where my answer image arrow is. All right, this last one, guys. I know this is my phone. But you know when you're using like that gray or that black mirror and you're trying to see how you look, and like is there something in my eye and you're going like this and you're looking at your face? When you're this close to it, number 1, you're very, very close to the mirror. That's one thing we're going to do on the next one. Number 2, your picture of your face is not upside down. If we were a far way away from this mirror, our face would be upside down, and we've actually done that and noticed that a couple times. But if we are really close to the mirror, our face should be right side up. So we're going to do a diagram. Please make sure that you're lining this up in the middle of the paper like I did. And guys, because I know the answer, if you didn't pause, go back a second and pause it. You know how like if we were in math class right now, this would be my origin and this is the positive x-axis? Because of what we are doing, I know we're also going to need the negative x-axis. But because the negative x-axis really isn't there and kind of doesn't exist, which is a good point for something I'm going to do in a little bit, would you please put the x-axis all the way left to right in there, but put it dashed when you go backwards? All right, so we're still going to do the same thing, but we got to be careful about where my focus is, okay? So again, I'm going to do this step for step with you. Start at the top of the arrow and go straight towards the mirror. Now be careful on this next one. I'm going to try and show you, but I'm doing this looking through the paper, so if I'm a little bit off. The next one, do you see how the focus is behind the arrow over here? So I have to make a line that would go like that. I mean, that makes sense and all. It's just kind of weird because our line is going to go through our arrow. Okay, our line, this purple line, is going to go through our arrow. All right, please be listening as I talk about this next thing, and I'm going to hold this up here, and I'm going to draw it, and then I'm going to like fix it, okay? The next thing we're supposed to do is start at the top of our arrow and go towards the focus. But if I would do that, please listen to the words I say, okay? If I were to do that and I were to think about that red line I just drew, the red line going this way is never going to hit the mirror. And so you know what I'm going to do to this arrow, even though it seems backwards? I'm going to make it go this way, because if I were to extend this line backwards, I would hit the mirror. All right? So I'm going to extend that line backwards. And then I'm going to hit the mirror up top here. All right? So I still had that ray, but since I couldn't go that way, I'm going to go backwards. And that means right now, from this dot up here, I've got to go straight off the mirror. So that very short, mine is only about 1 inch long, and you will see that once it gets scanned to you. That first original short purple line, this red line, and my black line, so 1, That very short one right there. 2, 3 should be parallel to each other. But here is my question. I am supposed to be looking for that red line, which I just finished drawing, bouncing off. And that purple line, where do they intersect? And you're like, Miss Jabs, they're never going to intersect because this purple line is going down and this red line is staying parallel. But if I were to go backwards, so since I'm going backwards, I am going to do dashed lines. I'm going to make this red line go backwards. Please agree with me that the red line that has, I'll point to it in just a second here. Would you agree that this line that I was worried about, this line, finding where it intersected, I just made it go backwards, okay? This purple line I'm worried about, so I'm going to make that purple line go backwards. Sorry, I just have to make sure it's lined up. I don't want it to be off because this is a drawing I want to get to you guys. And make sure it's a good looking one so you know what's going on. And if you notice this line right here, I just extended it backwards. And what happens right here? The lines intersect. Now, since the lines intersect, remember, the red and purple is where the arrow, the top of the arrow was. The red and purple is going to be where the top of the arrow is. But the bottom is still supposed to be on that main axis. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you agree when you are using like that gray mirror that I have, or that black mirror that I have, or the really big curved mirror that I have, when you're really close to it, your face shows up really, really big? Look at this. When your face is really close to the mirror, your image is really, really big. So if we were to answer 1, 2, 3, and 4, we just said that our face would be larger because we're close to the mirror. And you're going to notice something here. Since we're bigger, we're also farther away. Question number 1 was always, is this arrow upside down or right side up? And so we're going to write upright because this arrow goes the same way as our original. It's upright. When we're looking at our face, we see our face and we're up. Our face is the right way. So here's the deal, guys. If you notice these 2 pictures right here, which I am going to scan to you, I don't know if I'm going to write number 2 in. Would you agree I didn't have to do anything weird? I could just do what I told you. I didn't have to worry about extending these lines backwards and making up this place on this side. Okay? This side of the mirror actually does not exist. This side of the mirror does. This is what we were doing the last few days. And because these rays actually bounce off and actually meet, they really meet. That's one hint. Do they really meet? That is something that we get that is called a real image. And I'm going to describe that a little bit more probably on my next lecture. But these 2 have real images. That's why the other day, guys, I could use that mirror to get the picture of the outside, like when I was doing it with the chandelier up above me here, when I was doing it with the bright window up at school, when I was doing it with my phone in the green room at the school. These images, when my rays actually meet, and I don't have to do anything weird and funky and extend things backwards, these are real images. This one right here did not meet on this side. I had to extend a lot of lines backwards. This is actually what we would call a virtual image. It really isn't there. We couldn't put a piece of paper there and make my face look big if I was really, really close to the mirror. Another reason we know that is because this image is upright. And so because that image is upright, that means that that is a virtual image. Those are all some hints that we can work with together, but I'm going to do a better job of describing what a real image and a virtual image is in my lesson on Monday. I hope you guys have a good weekend. Miss you guys all. Bye.